As a student pilot, flying up into the Airways for the first time along with other commercial airline jets can be a big deal. The feeling of being cleared up to a flight level, Class A airspace under radar control can sound quite daunting. But for me, I was so excited to get up. Welcome back to another video, guys, and in today's video I have a standard IFR flight to a very familiar Cranfield airport. However, for the first time in my training, I will be going there via the Airways. After getting the engine started and a short taxi, we took off runway 19 out of Oxford. We started our departure towards the route we had filed in our flight plan, which took us towards Daventry VOR. For those who don't know, an airway is basically a designated route under a radar control which aeroplanes can follow to help in navigation and separation to avoid accidents. And for you non-pilots, a VOR, it stands for a very high frequency omnidirectional range, and it is a navigation aid used by pilots to determine their position or help in navigation. And this flight was actually the first time I had ever filed a flight plan, so I was very excited about that as well. Once we reached our top of climb at flight level 80, as this was only a short flight to Cranfield, it was soon time to descend at the altitude required for the hold. The total flight time to Cranfield was only about 30 minutes, which did make my workload really high, but that was always good practice for the future. And as you can see, the view up there was absolutely amazing. And if you are enjoying today's video, guys, please leave a like and also subscribe, as I will have a lot more of these instrument flights coming out, as next week will be a trip to Shoreham, and as well hopefully we'll be doing a trip to France, which should be such an amazing flight, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. Now, from the few instrument flights I have had so far, whilst the views are really cool, I will be honest, it can be quite boring in terms of sitting in the cruise for a long time with the autopilot on. Although at the same time, this can be quite relaxing, as you can just chat to your instructors, chat to your friends if they're in the back, and actually is good fun, especially if you're going somewhere exciting. Once I entered the hold at Cranfield, I stayed there and practiced a few holds for a little bit, as I will also have to do this in my MEIR exam. After the holds, we then did the RMP approach, which uses the GPS to see if we are on the centre line, and knowing our distance from the airfield as well as our altitude, we can work out if we are high or low. Once we reached the decision altitude, we went around, which was followed by an engine failure drill. Then we diverted back to Oxford for an asymmetric ILS. Now, on the way back, we don't actually enter the Airways again. We are still under instrument flight rules, but it will just be a normal diversion back to Oxford. We will normally do this just by following the GPS on our instruments. It was starting to get quite late, so night was creeping up on us, so we did have to head back pretty quickly. For the asymmetric ILS back into Oxford, asymmetric meaning on one engine, but for that ILS we did take a radar vectored ILS. So rather than like at Cranfield, we entered the hold, did a few of them, and then the procedure, air traffic control will tell us what heading to fly until we are established on the ILS, at which point we follow it down to the runway. Now that we were on the ILS, for me it's almost like a video game. Staring at the instruments, we must keep on the localizer as well as on the glide path while maintaining our speed. Again, just like at Cranfield, once we reached the decision altitude, we went around applying full thrust for an asymmetric go around, and then we will do a visual circuit to land. This can always be quite challenging, switching from staring at your instruments the whole flight to then looking out and flying visually, which is a challenge but also good fun. And then of course time for the landing, which was done at night, and it has been my first landing in a couple months, which did make it a bit more challenging. However, landing at night is always good fun, especially when you have all the runway lit up. And if you guys did enjoy today's video, you're definitely going to want to click right here so you guys can see my last flight before my commercial pilot's license exam. Thanks for watching.